In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to remove an alternator on a 2004 Ford Focus ZX4. The tools that you're going to need for this job are a jack stand, 15mm socket, 13mm socket, ratchet with an extension, and a 15mm wrench.
The very first thing you want to do is disconnect the negative terminal on the battery, because you don't want to get hit with any of that electricity. Then your next step is going to be to support the car with the jack stand. I'm pretty familiar with this. I've done it a couple times, so I can pretty much give you a quick rundown before I even get started. First thing you want to do, disconnect the battery, support the car on the jack stand. You're going to want to get underneath, remove the splash shield, take the belt off, and then you're going to want to undo the motor mount at some point to wiggle the alternator out. It's going to be two bolts holding this splash shield on, one right here, and another, if I get up there, hard to show it on the camera, but another up there. This is the motor mount you're going to have to undo, and you're going to need the jack to raise the motor to be able to wiggle the alternator out. So yeah, it's actually a pretty simple job. It may seem intimidating because you have to undo the motor mount and lift the engine up a bit to wiggle the alternator out. There's no way to access pulling the alternator out from above the car. You have absolutely no room up top to wiggle that alternator out, so you're gonna have to get it out from the bottom, and the only way to get it out from the bottom is to raise the engine. So, all right, let's go ahead and get started. I'm gonna get that splash shield off. I can't do that and hold the camera at the same time, so I'm gonna get back with you after I get that off and show you the next step. All right, so now that I have the splash shield off, you're able to access the serpentine belt to take that off. One tool I forgot to mention is that you're going to need a 15mm wrench to get this belt off. And if your wrench isn't that long, don't worry, you can always take a longer wrench and put it on there to get it off. A little trick I've picked up along the way. All right, so now that I've gotten that belt off the alternator pulley, I'm gonna come around and gonna want to undo this connector, wire connector on the alternator, and remove this wire from the alternator right here. These two wires, the two wires that's on the alternator, gonna want to take those off. This wire right here, it isn't hard to remove. You just push in and pull out. And for that other wire, it looks like a 10mm. Yeah, that's a 10mm bolt. Once you get that popped off, then all you have to do is remove those three bolts holding it in. Two on the bottom right here and one up top. All right, so now that I have these wires off, you're gonna want to take this 15mm to get this nut off, and this bolt is going to be a 13mm. All right, so back up top, I got those two bolts holding the alternator in on the bottom off. Get these wires out the way so you can see a little bit better. This is the bolt or nut up top I was referring to. Once you get that off, the alternator should be free to pull off the engine. Then you're ready to get it off the car. All right, so back underneath the car now, I have everything holding this alternator on off. You just pull it off. Gonna have to maneuver it some. not that much space. All right. This is why you're gonna have to undo this motor mount, because as you can see, there's just not enough room to get this out of the car. So you're gonna have to undo this motor mount and get a jack to raise the engine some to give you enough room or clearance to get this out. All right, just a quick tip. Before you remove this bolt in the motor mount, you're gonna want to position your jack underneath the engine so that way when you remove that bolt, the engine doesn't fall out. This isn't the only motor mount on it, so I don't think the engine actually would drop out, but you know, it's just a safety precaution. All right, now with that bolt out, gonna want to raise the jack. Like I said, I've done this a couple times, so I'm pretty familiar with it. So it's easy for me to lift it up with my leg while watching. You're just gonna raise it up far enough till you got enough room to wiggle this out. All right, so now I got the car up high, or the engine lifted up high enough to where I can go in here, maneuver this a little bit, and bam, alternator is out. And that's pretty much it. Like I said, it can be a little intimidating, just off the fact that you have to take the bolt out of the motor mount, but it's not a hard thing to do at all. These are all the tools right here I use. 15mm wrench, 13mm socket, what's this, 15mm socket, 10mm socket, another 10mm socket, and some extensions. Easy job to do. Nothing complicated. You could do it with just a basic set of sockets. No special tools needed or anything like that. Yeah. So yeah, that's about it, man. Alternator removal on a 2004 Ford Focus ZX4. You guys do me a favor, share the video, like it, circulate it, and all right. I did this job in less than 30 minutes in a parking lot of a shopping center. So if I could do it, anybody can.